Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Films and Stuff. I'm Ethan. I am here with Pete. And Pete, it is time for our weekly Stream or Skip Plus episode.
That's right. How are you this week?
Everything is great with me. What were our assignments this week for Stream or Skip?
So, as with every week, I went through a randomly assigned show that you gave to me, and you did the same that I assigned for you. And the idea was that we would watch at least 2 episodes, determine if it was worthy of being streamed or skipped.
Yes.
I'll kick off this week. I had a Netflix show called The Patients of Dr. Garcia.
Is it creepy?
It's not creepy at all. In fact, it's quite decent. I will say a couple things. First of all, this is the second week in a row where I've watched a pseudo World War II era show.
On Netflix.
On Netflix, that's exactly right. So last week I had Transatlantic, and this week I have a Spanish show set in the late 1930s during the Spanish Civil War. So it's not quite World War II yet, but obviously Hitler has risen to power. There's a lot of allusions to that. And of course, I had to do a little bit of digging because, again, Western European 20th century history, not my bag. So I don't know much.
Not the topic of Films and Stuff podcast.
Not generally not. And, I mean, like, we all did our social studies classes in high school. So what little I know of it, I remember from high school. The Spanish Civil War is going on. You have the blue shirts and the red shirts. The blue shirts are the fascists who are more or less aligned with the Nazis. And they make allusions to that. But in any case, that's the political landscape of the show. The premise of the show is that the show centers on a doctor called, obviously, Dr. Garcia, a doctor who doesn't just work at a hospital, but has also been kind of nominated/elected as the head of the medical association that goes to the front lines during the Civil War. And it's the first time this position's ever been created. And so, like, his normal day job is he starts the day at the hospital where he's treating patients. And then in the afternoon, he and a group of medical interns and students go to the front lines and treat patients there.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So it's pretty...
Is it bloody?
Yeah, it's pretty graphic. So it's not bloody, like gory for the sake of being gory. But, they don't shy away from the fact that somebody has died, that there's blood, and that he does blood transfusions, that kind of stuff. And of course, you find out that his neighbor who lives across the hall from him is a dedicated blue shirt. He's a red shirt. They have conflicts, but because she's very young and attractive and they've known each other since children, they obviously hook up. It's
Crips and the Bloods, the original Crips and the Bloods.
Correct. And this is a European show, so they're very liberal about the nudity and the sex.
All right.
It's something you wouldn't expect to see on Netflix. That's not really Netflix's thing. That's something more like Showtime or HBO. So I was a bit surprised by that. Production values, I thought, of the show were pretty good. The show looks seriously good. Cars are era appropriate. The sets and the clothes are era appropriate. From what I understand, like, the way of speaking and the language is also supposed to be era appropriate. But of course, I had subtitles on. My Spanish is okay, but not good enough for me to hear a TV show in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a fictional show, and they try to make it spicy because they add elements of espionage. So in the first episode, we find out that a potential German collaborator has been brought into the hospital, and we learn that he's actually not a German collaborator. He's a Spanish spy who's infiltrated the German ranks. And so what they have to do is they can't find out that he's been killed or that he's been injured. So what they do is Dr. Garcia goes to the morgue, takes another patient's name, and assigns that identity to him, and they create a lifelong friendship. And then In the second episode, if you're not paying attention, you realize they do the same thing that The Witcher did previously, which is it shows a flashback and a flash forward,
Oh, yeah,
but they
yeah.
don't tell you that they're going
Oh,
back in
that's hard
time
to
or that they're
follow.
going forward
Yeah.
in time. So you really have to pay attention. So again, confident in themselves to not hold your hands.
Mhm.
And again, because the show is in Spanish, because the show is in an era which is not exactly my cup of tea, it did little to nothing for me. But I expect that for fans of fictional dramas, especially of, like, generally speaking, a wartime espionage drama, I would imagine would be right in our alley.
Yeah.
But I think coupled with the fact that I don't really care about the Spanish Civil War, and I'm not to denigrate it, but it's just not my thing. And then it's also in Spanish. Those things are kind of like a double whammy. So it is obviously a good show. I think that most people are going to really like it. But for me, it's a skip. I'm not going to go back to watch more episodes to see how it ends because I don't want to put myself through having to read 8 more episodes worth of subtitles for a show that's not exactly hitting on all cylinders for me.
You know, there was something interesting. I can't remember which of us said it. I'll say it's you. When we were watching Moon Knight, and we were saying, historically, this is a stereotype and it's a generalization. So please don't send us a bunch of emails and DMs saying what we got wrong. But generally, when you look at the Middle East and Europe to an extent, a lot of their content is looking backwards. And there's not a lot of sci-fi or futuristic stuff that come out of those regions, you know? They're always kind of looking backwards. I don't mean backwards as a negative way, but they are. They're looking into the past, drawing inspiration for some very creative shows. And you're saying, hey, I'm not into the Spanish Revolution. And that's a very niche, okay, yes, it's a Spanish show, but that's a very niche market. Do you think that this show would have had more legs if they would have made it in the future and it's some type of either apocalyptical or rebels or some type of future show that wasn't just specifically Spanish history based? Do you think the story would have been like equally compelling and maybe more so when you take out the historical element?
I mean, as a fan of sci-fi, I certainly would have found that to be more appealing. Like, it could still have been Germany versus Spain and a civil war in Spain. Again, I'm speaking out of my butt, but maybe set on the moon or maybe set in, 2025. And we're trying to figure out, like, because the themes are, I think, universal, right? The idea of a civil war tearing the country apart. Social
Loyalties
and economic pressures applying to two different groups of people with two different kinds of ideologies. I mean, I don't want to sound melodramatic here, but that's kind of like what we're seeing in the US today, right? Where instead of being an all-out civil war, there is certainly a culture war happening. And whatever side of the spectrum you fall on, that's fine. This is not a critique of that. But I think that anyone with two eyes could recognize that even in an advanced, quote unquote, first world country, these things happen. And then the idea of, an espionage mission that goes awry and you have to hide that identity and the problems that come up with that. That's a very appealing concept, right? Or at least that's a very dramatic televisual concept. So,
So that is
The Patience of Dr. Garcia.
The Patience. But patience like the people patience, not
exactly. Not patience as in, although, to be fair, it's probably worded that way for that reason. You do see him exhibit a lot of patience.
On his patience.
Exactly.
Okay. So that's Netflix, The Patience of Dr. Garcia. Pete gives it a skip. I had something very, very interesting on Amazon Prime. It's called Dead Ringers, starring Rachel Weisz.
Yep.
Before I get into the show, which I'm not sure what I'm going to rate it yet, it's interesting to note a few things. One, this miniseries is based on a movie, 1988, starring Jeremy Irons. Wow. And directed by
Cronenberg,
David Cronenberg. That film itself was based on a novel that was called Twins. And that novel was based on a real life story of identical twins, but they were males that lived in Toronto. The story goes that they were gynecologists and they had very different personalities. One was very outgoing, one was much more introverted, and they died under very suspicious circumstances. And it was questionable whether they did like a suicide pact or whether one died and the other couldn't live without the other. So the other killed himself as well. So that was the premise for the novel. The novel was the premise for the film. Now this film is the premise for this miniseries, but instead of making them males, it's females, and it stars Rachel Weisz as both sisters. And it took me a while to get it, actually, because I did not do any research before I saw this. I was watching it, and it's obviously apparent that they're identical twin siblings, but I wasn't getting like which one was good or which one was bad, or even that it was very subtle at first, maybe intentionally so. Then I figured it out. One always wears her hair up, one always wears it down. And that's how you can kind of tell them apart.
Can I guess who's the bad guy?
You can.
The one who wears her hair down.
That's correct.
I knew it.
I wouldn't say a bad guy. I would just say one is much more
sinister.
It's not the wrong word. I guess I would describe it as one is a little bit more aggressive and maybe obnoxious, but not necessarily like evil. And the other one is very uptight. You know, like someone says goodbye to them once and says, all right, you behave and you loosen up, you know, and I think that described them very, very well.
Right.
I watched 4 episodes and a few things. I mean, this is no holds barred swearing, a lot of F-bombs, first of all, not a lot of sex. Like I don't think that there's like any like nudity. But I mean, of course, you see people like in bed with like some implications, you know, but like nothing
of course. Yeah.
Too steamy. But you see, because they're gynecologists, they focus on like giving birth and pregnancies. There is some birthing scenes that are, to be honest, I don't even know if I've seen like a birthing scene in TV or a movie that's been anything other than like kind of the bed sheet over the lady's legs, right?
Right.
And then the doctor like kind of grabs the baby and like lifts it up, right? These are like graphic as serious stuff. Like you see like heads breaching kind of stuff.
So probably more realistic.
Yeah, I've never seen it, so but I'm gonna
Likewise,
guess it is.
But I'm assuming.
I'm gonna guess it is. So do I like the show? It's compelling. The acting is superb. Production value's solid. I'm not really like enthralled by the story though. You know, it's very subtle in terms of, you know, their different appetites for men and for women. One of them is a lesbian, one of them is heterosexual. Their appetites for like partying, their appetites for like saying what's on their mind. It's a little bit more subtle. I don't either like or dislike either of the characters. I just kind of accept them as who they are. I don't think either one of them is particularly compelling or repulsive. It's definitely something that is hard to turn off, but at the same time, I wouldn't recommend this show to anybody. So I think I'm going to give this a mooch with a caveat that Rachel Weisz is exceptional and however they filmed it. So I give the creators a lot of credit. I give Rachel Weisz a lot of credit. I think she's done great. I like the adaptation that it's women instead of men as the gynecologists, but I'm not like really dying to like continue watching it or seeing how it ends, or, you know, I'm not like just enthralled by the characters. So I would say it's very, very solid. I think Amazon Prime, you know, chose something that's not dramatically expensive to make. It's based on an IP. It's going to have, you know, strong following, but at the same time, it's not going to be their moneymaker. And I'd be surprised if there's a second season, just kind of knowing already how this is going to end. So I give this a mooch Dead Ringers on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
But that's not all. One, we have to choose our streamer skips for next week. And knowing you, Pete, you've already done that. And second, I think we need a little bit of bonus content given what's coming up in the world of HBO.
I would agree. And I thought that it would be a good time to also do a very quick recap/review of HBO Max's streaming platform. So maybe we should do that. Have you been having any issues logging on to quote unquote Max?
It's a joke. It's a joke. Honestly, I think that's the worst platform. I've almost given up even trying to log on to HBO.
I thought it was me. I thought,
No.
oh, well, I'm traveling. I'm in India. I have to access it through VPNs. It could just be a Pete problem.
Nope.
But it clearly isn't, right? I've been hearing across the spectrum, everybody and their mother is having a problem with signing on to Max. First of all, why do we need a new app? That's a problem. Like, I think that's annoying.
Yeah.
Second thing was, I hate the user interface. I don't know about anyone else. I don't know about you, but I thought that HBO Max's previous user interface was serviceable. It wasn't good by any means, but it wasn't bad. I don't know. I just thought the technical issues, just a nightmare to deal with.
I mean, I agree. And I have to say, if you're going to create a website, the most basic fundamental element that should work is allow your paying users to be able to log in. If your paying users aren't able to log in, it is, I'm out of the words for HBO Max. I've really given up on it. If it weren't for Succession, I would never go there. And I think I told you in the past, I wasn't even able to renew my subscription.
That's right.
I had to ask my brother if he could try to log in and renew his subscription. Even he had problems. I mean, this is the equivalent of throwing your money at HBO and them throwing it back repeatedly. Just an absolute farce.
Playing hard to get is the wrong way to go in this kind of business.
Totally agree. I have no interest in, and it's really a shame because I think that content-wise, I've always considered HBO to be, and you and I have done this last year.
Yeah.
HBO has the highest batting average. The quality per show they have is really exceptional. Their content people are not the problem, but whichever IT dude they've put in charge of this website is just failing. Yeah. Really sorry to say it. No other explanation. If you can't log in, if you can't renew, these are basic things. I even once tried to, like most websites, you're able to like click on that thing that says, don't send me marketing materials and spam. Yeah. And they're usually pretty easy to find. The HBO one is impossible to find. Impossible to find. In fact, all their links are circular. You click on something, it takes you to a new page. It says, do you want to unsubscribe? Yes. You click on unsubscribe, it takes you to a new page. We've got to read a bunch of stuff and scroll down. It's like almost intentionally a labyrinth. I've had it with HBO.
Yeah, so any email I get from HBO goes straight to spam at the moment as it is. I haven't even bothered dealing with it on an HBO side. I don't know. I just, I could kind of expect or understand this for example, for a company like Sony, because these guys aren't traditionally in the business of streaming platforms. They're not media conglomerates. Sony is now, of course, don't get me wrong, Sony is, but that's why Sony doesn't have its own streaming platform. But if it did, I would understand that if they had their teething problems. Warner Brothers, Discovery, these guys have been around for decades, right?
That's your business.
This is their bread and butter. They're not a tech company that's foraying into media for a lark. All they do is media. All they do is telecommunications. I mean, they were owned by AT&T. They have to be able to know how to do these things.
I mean, come on. We're in the year 2023. Maybe in the early 90s, if your website didn't work, there's some justification for that. Honestly, even if you're an iron ore mining company that doesn't employ a single IT person,
Yeah.
In this day and age, it's inexcusable for a multi-billion-dollar company or even a company with $100,000 to be able to have a workable website. It is malpractice.
Yeah. I mean, look at the Films and Stuff website. It's working fine. You know, you can click on links. You can listen to our episodes. Hint, hint, you should listen to our episodes. But the
Indeed.
point is that we are not IT professionals. We are not social media experts. We're not content creators on the same scale as Warner Brothers and HBO and Discovery.
We don't have a multi-million-dollar budget, and our website is not our sole generator of income. Like
Yeah.
if HBO is not focused on their website, I don't know. It's mind-boggling that either someone does not understand this is a problem or someone doesn't care enough to fix it, because this should not be something that is like needs this dramatic overhaul. Being able to log in, renew your subscription is really the most basic.
But you know what? This could be, and maybe this is me being meta now. Let's segue into Succession. This could be an elaborate marketing stunt where HBO is pretending to be Gojo with Lucas Matson in Succession, right? Where they're pretending to do all these crazy, stupid things to try to sink some kind of merger with Waystar.
Interesting conspiracy theory. I give you a lot of credit for thinking that way. And if anyone is sincerely trying to sabotage their website for this purpose, my hat's off to them for thinking big. That leads us into Succession, which you and I have watched for 3.9 seasons. That means that there's only one episode left.
That's right.
The not just season finale, the series finale. The stakes could not be higher, I would say. If we've looked at historically, and now that I think about this, maybe we should do a whole separate episode on, series finales. But there are some iconic series finales. Sopranos, which some people are still not forgiven. Better Call Saul, which was quite good. Of course, there was Breaking Bad, which was quite good. Yeah. My personal favorite, and I hope I don't cry while I start to think about this, The Americans, the best series finale in the history of television.
Right.
Oh, Mad Men, exceptional. The series finale is, well, we could go badly and say Game of Thrones, which kind of was pushed
there's
together.
A couple of really terrible ones, of course. Dexter was horrible. Game of Thrones, of course, was so bad that it almost negated 10 seasons of content or 8 seasons of content behind it. But yeah, we are one episode away from figuring out who wins the Game of Thrones in Manhattan.
Yeah, the Waystar Game of Thrones.
Who do you think is going to be the winner out of the 3?
I'm going to, first of all, push back on your question. I don't think there's going to be a neat ending.
Okay.
I don't think this is going to be wrapped up as clear as Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul. I think this is more going to be you interpret it kind of Sopranos style endings.
Oh, boo.
I don't think it's going to be fade to black, but I don't think it's going to be something's going to happen, and Kendall or Shiv is just going to walk away with it, and then you're going to see like everyone's sad faces, and that's going to be the end of it. I think it's going to be a little bit more ambiguous, because that's the nature of the show, is that there's no one winner, that it shows that no one really gets what they want because no one's really earned, what they want, and no one's really qualified for what they want. I would expect that it's going to be a little bit of a messy ending. Let me hear what you have to say first.
So I think that's interesting that you say that no one's qualified. I think the last 2 seasons, this season and the season before, have actually shown us that the kids are, with the exception of Shiv, because I think Shiv showed her competence the best in the first season when she wasn't working for Waystar, when she was working as kind of like a political strategist.
Yeah.
I actually think last season focused a lot on how good Roman was as like not just a savvy guy, but as in just like, if I had to
practical.
say it, I think he was a really good COO, right? I think he actually got stuff done. And I think this season has shown us very much that Kendall is pretty good at maybe the soft aspect of the business, maybe not so much the numbers. Obviously, he understands the numbers. He pulled out that presentation out of his ass. He pulled out the funeral speech, out of his ass.
Yeah.
When the tough get going, he kind of gets on it and gets across the finish line and leaves people feeling comforted.
He shows up to every game, right?
Yeah.
Like Roman, you're never really sure if you can count on him to be your starting quarterback or your star player. Shiv, I find, is just repugnant. I'll get to her in a minute. But yeah, Kendall, for all his flaws, he shows up with his game face and he's ready all the time, right?
Yeah, like he comes off looking like he's incompetent, but
Yeah.
he's kind of like Ben Roethlisberger.
Oh,
A lot of off-field troubles.
like the reference.
When he was on the turf, he was throwing touchdowns. He was getting them across the finish line.
After 4 seasons, who do you like more? Who do you like less? Just as characters.
Okay, so I'm going to separate that by saying, of the siblings, I don't count Connor as one of the siblings, even though he obviously is. I really like him, but I also like him because he was one of the only siblings who's not really tainted by the business, if that makes sense. Like, he's got a lot of his own problems, certainly, and he's got a lot of family problems, but none of it stems from the fact that he's ever really in contention to take over, and I think he's accepted that. I kind of discount him. Of the 3, I probably like Kendall the most. I dislike Shiv the most. I mean, I cannot get this whole arc of her getting pregnant doesn't do anything for me. If anything, it actually makes her like her even less.
You know what I was thinking about? I mean, Shiv is played by this actress called Sarah Snook.
Yeah.
Who I'm sure is an entirely likable, decent person.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that the Shiv character is so repugnant. I can't help but to wonder if it's going to stain her professionally in a way that the actor who played Jar Jar Binks, the actress who played Skylar White,
I was just
the actress who played Paige Jennings from The Americans, those are humans, actors, right?
Yeah.
Who received such hatred, mostly online, right?
King Joffrey.
Yeah, for the characters that they played, because their characters were so, not in all cases repugnant, but like really disliked. If Sarah Snook had an opportunity to do a rom-com, would you watch that movie?
I wouldn't.
I feel like, unfortunately, I'm sure that's an entirely nice lady. I hate her character, Shiv, so much. I don't want to see her in any other show or movie.
She'll be a victim of her own success for this.
Isn't that just a terrible thing that like you've played? And it doesn't happen with all bad guys. There's some bad guys who are really bad guys, and you actually don't mind them as bad guys because they're so evil or the way that they come off. I think it's that Shiv is so duplicitous and she's so disingenuous that you actually just really dislike her. Not because she's so evil. She's equally evil as everyone else on that show. It's just the way she demonstrates that evilness is in a whole different level of manipulation and ugliness, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't like her character at all.
Nor do I.
And in terms of people who, inevitably there's going to be questions of people are going to say, well, that's sexism, blah, blah, blah. Each of them is equally repugnant. Fine. I'm not saying that. Yeah. I don't think that's an issue because there are other women characters in this show who I think are maybe not at the same level of badness, but who are certainly strong characters who I really like. Like, I really like Jerry. And I actually find her mother to be hilariously bad.
Oh, Marsha?
No, not Marsha. Her bio mom.
Oh, yeah, the British lady. Yeah, right? she's horrible. Right.
She's horrible. But I was so compelled by like that scene in the church where she gets all of Logan's ex-wives / ex-girlfriends to sit together.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I thought that was such an impressive coup de grace on essentially a dead man already, right? Like, what a way to slam him literally from beyond the grave. It was insane.
That's the thing, is that there's people who are evil but you don't necessarily dislike them so much. You just recognize that they're evil. And then there's people like Shiv's character, the way that she's just so, not just even nasty, she's just undermining her brothers, like playing both sides, being awful to Tom, but then kind of being nice to him. Like, just she's pregnant, but then you see her drinking the champagne. It just seems like everything that she does, the way that she's kind of like, even Matsson's the Swedish guy, right?
Yeah, the pseudo Elon
Right?
Musk and elk.
Like, she's not even being strong and saying, hey, I should be your CEO. Kind of got this weakness about her.
She pussyfoots around it so much,
Yes.
and she obviously is going to get stabbed in the back because he was
I
like,
agree.
I think I could make a US CEO work. He left it completely vague,
Yeah.
while also she took it as to say, oh,
Yeah.
he'll put me into the position as CEO.
There's no way he's going to choose her.
Absolutely
no
not.
Way.
She's so easily manipulated by that.
I agree. And she's so weak. I would like her more if she would actually dial up the evilness. But the fact that she's screwing her brothers behind their backs, I think is horrible. But I can even get behind that if she'd be straight up to Matsson and be like, look, I'll get this deal for you. I want to be the CEO. Yes or no, do we have a deal? Right?
Yeah.
And just be straight up about it. I would respect her evilness much more. But the fact that she's trying to like be suggestive about it, and she's kind of assuming, where everyone's watching this from 30,000 feet knows damn well he's not giving her anything. If anything, he's going to like have a one night stand with her, totally rough her up and abuse her, be creepy stalker with her, and never give her the CEO role, right?
Yeah,
he's just going to
absolutely.
dangle it in front of her. Yuck. The other character that I'm a little bit disappointed by is Cousin Greg, who I adored in the first 3 seasons.
I've never liked him.
And he hasn't shown any growth. In fact, he's just kind of turned into like a
Fuzzball.
Yeah, right?
It's because he's got money now and he kind of understands what to do with it and how to spend it,
Yeah.
which is, of course, because of Tom.
Yeah.
But man, I can't stand him.
Yeah. Tom has become a little bit more likable, right?
Because he's finally standing up for himself. The first couple seasons, he was kind of always like, okay, I'm going to suck up to Logan.
Right.
I'm going to suck up to my wife. And obviously my wife is a billionaire. So, even though I think we talked about this, he comes from a very well-to-do family. He's quite wealthy on his own right. He's quite smart. The episode where he finally has the all in all out fight with Shiv on their balcony, where he's just like, you're a terrible person. You're going to be a bad mother, just like your mother before you, because this is the kind of person you are. I like that he aired it all out.
So Tom's become, I think, a little bit more likable throughout the show, whereas I think Cousin Greg has become less likable. He was cute and bumbling and kind of pathetic. He's become like a little bit Weasley and evil.
Yeah.
Without the funny parts, So that's kind of my prediction. I don't think that, I certainly don't see this going to Matsson. I don't see the Gojo deal being consummated. I don't think that he made a very good impression in front of the president-elect. I don't think that, he comes across as like a very decent, like compelling, intelligent guy. The alternative is then that it goes to Kendall, but I think that's just a little bit too clean a bow to put on this show. I just anticipate that there's going to be something new that comes up, but they haven't really like teased it. So for example, it would have made more sense if now the wives, would have started to, take like a more active role. If they'd implement that now, it just comes like out of left field. It's too sudden.
The way I see it right now is that it's going to be a Godfather ending where Kendall gets the crown and then we kind of see the doors close in on him being a real asshole.
Maybe Stewie comes back. I'd love to see Stewie. He wasn't in the church at all. I thought
he wasn't at the funeral. Yeah.
That would have been a great scene for him to make some maneuvers or
alliances of some kind. Yeah.
Can I add just 2 things at the end? One, I have to say, usually a show ending after 4 years seems a little bit premature, but I think this is probably running its course in the right time.
Absolutely.
I would watch a 5th season, but based on where they are right now, I've kind of seen enough of it, and there's no real relationships in this show. It's just kind of everyone's personality or character coming out. So I have to say, I think they're wrapping it up at the right time. My second and last comment is I have to say I'm a little bit disappointed that the showrunners integrated this election uncertainty into the storyline. Not because it's not compelling, but when fiction mirrors reality too closely, I think it comes off as not original. And particularly in the US, which, as you mentioned earlier in this episode, is already battling divisiveness and all those negative things. I don't think that adding this element to the show makes things any better. Maybe it's a subtle parody in terms of how crazy people are. Like you saw, like Kendall's wife took his daughter couldn't handle this, right? She was emotionally damaged somehow. Maybe he's like subtly calling her a snowflake and trying to poke fun at like how easily people are emotionally damaged or injured, by news events right now. Maybe that's the intention, but to me, it just seems to kind of justify all the nonsense that we see. And I'd really prefer that they kind of had kept that out of the storyline, because there's enough storylines right now to add a presidential election to what's essentially a capitalistic plot.
So I agree with you that it could come off poorly because ultimately a lot is riding on this, right? I think that Succession has done a good job of kind of depicting this as I don't want to say a satire, but kind of like a reflection on what's happening in real life. But I am with you in the sense that there's already enough going on just within the company that they don't need to add the external real life allusions to what happened in the US. I don't think that's necessary whatsoever. I also think that, they could have done it with references, because like throughout the entire 4 seasons, we've all understood that the reference was that Waystar, the ACN was effectively Fox News, right? Yeah. It was kind of implied and it was understood. I think that was enough. I don't think we needed to see more of that. That's absolutely fine. They could have made a passing comment that Lucas was he was knocking off $1 billion from his offer because of the $1 billion settlement that ACN had to make for peddling some kind of misinformation. Yeah. That would have been enough. Yeah. Just a little bit of a nudge about what happened in real life, but without having to go into the actual whole election night drama. Look, again, I don't think they've done a bad job with depicting it. I just, generally speaking, I agree with you. This is how you keep shows evergreen, is by not linking it to current events.
That's right.
I think 20 years from now, if I want to sit down and watch all 4 seasons of Succession, will it hit the same way? I doubt it.
Yeah. I think seasons 1, 2, and 3 would. And then season 4 seems to be falling a little bit flat.
But since this is the finale season and we're seeing the finale tonight, it hits all the more awkwardly, right? Generally speaking, I'm a fan of the type of comedy, the type of drama that's loosely based on a true story or, refers to something, but isn't explicit about it, because that really prevents the enjoyment of the show on a long-term basis.
I agree. I was just going to say, this season's been a little bit unique. At least 2 of its episodes, the episode where Logan passed and the episode where Tom and Shiv had their big throwdown, have really veered into like dramatic context.
Yes.
And away from whether the show is supposed to be a comedy or a satire or something in the middle. It was never intended to be a serious
drama,
stage theatrical drama, right?
Agreed.
Critically, those 2 episodes have received a lot of credit, and rightfully so. They're very dramatic and well done. But that's not really what the show was about, right? The show is billions. It's about excess. It's about not vulgarity, but impunity to your actions and stuff. And those 2 episodes, I think, really shifted the tone, which isn't necessarily bad, but it just demonstrates that I think the season's gone. It hasn't been as consistent in terms of, the tone that it's been setting.
Oh, I just thought about it. You know what Kendall's downfall could be?
The
kid
murder?
who died at the wedding.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know if they were going to go back so far to see if they bring it back, but that would be the way to do it.
There's a lot of logic that the Roy family maintains control. Kendall is the CEO. And then, basically he has to reap everything that he's sown, right? So it's going to come back that he was implicated in the overdose of this kid, that, all the things he said about Life Plus, right? He gave a great speech, but basically he gave like totally unjustifiable numbers and manipulated, his father's voice. Suddenly there's going to be like this whole bath of hot water allegations surrounding him. It's going to be like, well, congratulations. You got what you wanted. Now you don't actually get to enjoy it. You're going to spend the next couple of years, defending yourself and trying to, stave off everyone else that wants to overthrow you. You've got a board that doesn't particularly want you or respect you. It could be a situation like that, which is, yes, you won, but what you won is not something that you're actually going to enjoy having.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
That was Stream or Skip Plus.
Oh, wait. Let's talk about what we're watching next week.
Yeah. Back it up.
So next week, you're going to be on Netflix and you'll be watching a show called The Watcher.
The Watcher?
Yep. I will be on Apple TV watching Dear Edward.
Oh, hardcore drama.
I understand that The Watcher is a thriller.
Oh.
And Dear Edward is probably either a thriller or a drama, because that's kind of the forte that Apple TV's
Indeed, it
excelling
is.
in right now.
So stay tuned next week. We've got 2 new shows, Apple TV Plus and Netflix. This week we had Amazon Prime and Netflix. Plus, we talked about Succession on HBO Max, which has a terrible platform.
If you've got more shows that you'd like us to review for you, reach out to us, tweet at us at F&S Podcast, DM us on Instagram at Films and Stuff Podcast, send us an email, aloha@filmsandstuffpodcast.com, or the easiest thing you can do is like this video, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment below telling us what you'd like us to do. Any of those things would really help us out.
We like the likes. Everyone, thank you for joining. Pete, thank you as always for your contributions, and we will catch you all next week on the Films and Stuff Podcast.
Thanks, Ethan.
Thanks, everyone. Bye now.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.